Welcome to episode 4 of things you should do when you start FC26 career mode. In this video, I'll be providing you with even more of my best tips and tricks for when you start the game mode. Today we'll be talking about things like training plans, development plans, and editing your players. Hopefully this helps you out. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like for me and make sure you subscribe. We are so close to 300,000 subscribers, 2,205 to go. Please tell your friends to subscribe as well. Before you start career mode, you have to go through the pre-career settings, and you might have noticed that there's some training settings that you'll need to set up before you get into career mode. If you turned training plans on, and if you have training plan availability set to manual plus automated, what I'm going to talk about now is going to apply to you. You should go to the squad section in the menus and click on training plan. Once you've entered training plan, you might have an automated plan section and a training plan section. This is where you balance player sharpness and energy levels. If you do it the automated way, then you'll just have to set numbers here. So let's say like 70 for intense. What that means is that intense is active as long as sharpness is lower than 70. And you can also go to recovery. So let's do 30. Recovery will be active as long as energy is lower than 30. Now obviously you can tweak it to what you want. I'm just doing examples here. You can confirm that and the game will take care of it. But you can also turn that off. So if you press triangle and you clear rules, you'll see NA for each one. If you have NA for each one, you'll be able to do the manual training plans. So go to the training plan using R1. This is where we can tinker for individual players or just select groups. So with our squad here, you can see that each player has a balanced approach at the moment. That's not ideal because some players are going to be playing matches and some won't. For players that get a lot of game time, what I usually do is leave it on balanced or light, because if you put them on heavy or intense plans, their energy levels are going to take a massive hit, so they'll be tired for upcoming matches. But if you leave it on light or even recovery, it means that they've got more of a chance of recovering fully before the next game. So I've set the light training plan for this player, and now I can press triangle to apply it to a group. So I'm just going to apply this to the starting 11. So all my players will be on a light plan, while my subs and reserves are on a balanced. What I usually do with reserve players, because they don't really play much, is put them on an intense plan or just something like a heavy plan. That way their sharpness is still high even though they're not playing games. So I can set that for my subs and reserves. Obviously, as you start playing games and your schedule changes, it's good to come back and revisit this and maybe change individual plans or, change group plans. You'll just have to take a look and see whether energy levels are taking too much of a hit and the players aren't recovering enough in time. If it's not working out for you, you can always go back to the automated plan and the game will take care of all this for you. So that's an option too. Next up, you should go to development plan and enter that. This is where you can choose how you would like your player to grow and improve. It can be important to pick a specific plan here, since targeted development happens more quickly than on the balanced plan. Each player here can be put on specific development plans, but if you don't put them on a specific plan, they'll just be on the balanced plan, which targets a bit of everything. I've noticed that these development plans work better for players that have not reached their peak yet and are still growing. For players that have already reached their peak like Bruno Fernandes, a development plan is not going to really do much for him. As you can see, each attribute will not be increasing no matter what targeted plan you put him on. But if you have a younger player like Ahmad, he's still in the growth stage and he'll benefit more from a targeted plan. So at the moment he's a cam on a balanced plan which targets a bit of everything. But you can see that this balanced plan targets a lot of defending attributes, which we don't really need. So I can make him a classic 10, and that's going to put more focus on his weak foot, long shots, short pass, crossing vision, composure, ball control, and acceleration. I could also choose another development plan if I wanted to. If we have a striker like Xerxes here, who's currently on a balanced plan, you can see that his defending stats are being targeted. We don't really need his defensive stats to grow. So let's make him a poacher, and you can see that it targets more of his shooting and his acceleration. So what you'll need to do here is go through each player on your team. If they've already hit their peak, like Bruno Fernandes, or they're in the decline stage like Casemiro, then just leave them on the balanced plan. But if the player is younger and is in the growth stage, then it might be beneficial to put them on a targeted development plan. It will take some time, but make sure you do this because it will help your players grow more effectively than if you just left them on balanced plans. Now while we're here, if you click the R1 button, you can do position conversions. So let's say you don't have a great transfer budget or you need players in certain positions. You could utilize this position conversion feature to change player positions. Position conversions can take a long time, so you should check this feature out when you start your save. So let's use Bruno Fernandes as an example. He's currently a cam and can also play as a centre mid. If we want to make centre mid his primary position, it would only take 2 weeks. We can just select centre midfielder right there. We could also make him a left midfielder, but it would take 88 weeks to do that. If you're patient enough, he will eventually become a left midfielder for you. You could make him a striker, but it would take 300 weeks. So that requires a lot of time and patience. If you've got a centre back that you want to make a right back, you can do that as well. This feature does work, but it does take a long time. So I guess you're better off actually buying a player in the transfer market if you need a specific position filled quickly. Sometimes you'll see a conversion that can happen in just a couple of months. Look at this example. Martinez, who plays as a centre back, can become a CDM in just 14 weeks. So that could be something you might consider. Let's say you had no budget and you couldn't buy a CDM, but you needed that position to be filled. You could convert this player into a CDM in just 14 weeks. So it won't make sense to use this feature on every player in your squad, and you shouldn't use this feature on every player in your team. But I do suggest taking a look at the position conversion feature to see if it makes sense for a player in your squad. Another thing you should do when you start is go to the Squad Hub and check for contracts expiring soon. Go to the financial section of the Squad Hub and go to contract. Press the square button to sort and you'll see the lowest to highest contract lengths. What you want to do here is take a look at players that have 1 year or less remaining and keep a note of these players because you'll need to sort out their contract situation in the first season. I think this year they've changed it so the players will come to you when they want to negotiate contracts. Here it says the player is not looking to engage in contract negotiations for the time being. That means that now you can't renew contracts when you want to. You'll have to wait for the player to come to you. Like I said, just keep an eye on the players that have 1 year or less remaining because eventually they'll come to you to negotiate their contract, and when they do, you should sort that out. Another thing you can do when you start is go to the customize section and go to edit players. You should be able to edit certain things about your players. So if I click on a player here, I can't change their name and birth date and all that sort of stuff. I can't change their body or position, but I can change a few details of their kit. So if a player has an untucked shirt, I can tuck it in. I can even change their sleeves, their pants as well, and their boots. So you can change the appearance of your players on the field through this feature here. If I click advance, it should save that. So maybe in the winter months, you can put hand gloves on all your players like Casemiro has there. We'll take a look at Harry Maguire now. So we'll tuck in the shirt, we'll change the sleeves, we'll give him some Nike boots, and I'll give him some gloves, and we'll save that. So that's pretty cool. You can also edit your manager here. If you didn't do this while you were setting up your career mode, you can do this now as well by clicking the edit manager tile. Certain things will be locked, which means you can't change them, but you can change their clothing. So if your manager is wearing a tracksuit and you would like to put a suit on him, you just have to change the outer top, put a suit jacket on him and a shirt, and we can also put on some suit pants. We'll change the socks and we'll put some black shoes on and a red tie, and we just successfully changed the appearance of our manager. You can do this at any time throughout the season, by the way. Now you just click advance and your manager will be wearing those clothes in cutscenes and on the field until you decide to change them again. Thank you to my channel members Chris, Callum, Wing and Hugo. If you want your name featured here, check out the link in the description. Make sure you leave a like for me and subscribe as well.